And we are live here on Plus One EXP's Roll for Content channel doing BackerQuest for the first time in a long time. We're a weird little brand that multi-classes in tabletop game design, beard and skincare, alchemy, and the Bardic College of Content Creation. Our hope and desire is to help amazing designers find great players who love their games and to help great players who find amazing designers whose games they can love. It's been a day getting everything reset back up for the first one of these that we've done in 2 months. We had a couple of ongoing live streams on Wednesday afternoons, plus just a few shifts on the channel that kept us from being able to do this every other week feature. But we are back and ready to go. Hey, it's Ben watching over on Facebook. Hey, Ben, how's it going? You can see right next to me that we have all the most recent TTRPG labeled projects up on Kickstarter. However, we don't just cover Kickstarter projects here on BackerQuest. We cover Kickstarter projects on itch, projects that have just released in GameSource. We're also going to talk about the first project to be funding on Gamefound. That's an RPG, not one that's using Gamefound as a fulfillment service, but as an actual crowdfunding platform. So we're going to look at Vast Grim in just a little bit. As always, we have a sponsor this week. That sponsor is iToaster, which is the game that we released. It's inspired by things like the Brave Little Toaster. It's up on itch right now. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a second, but the link is right down below. So if you're a creator out there who wants your game featured we do this every other week. Just talk about stuff that's come out, and I'm super excited to quest. If you're watching live right now, feel free to drop a link of a project you're excited about in the chat below. I've got some of these pulled up. Some of these we're not going to get a chance to look at the very end of our time together. If we have a little bit of time, I'm going to be looking at the Lux Collective, which is a series of looming games that have been itch funding over the last couple months. I don't know how many of these we'll be able to get through, but I've played a lot of them. I'm very excited about all of them, and I wanted to mention it at the top. If you haven't checked out the Lux Collective, you can go to luxcollective.card.co to check it all out. But let's talk about a couple of projects that have a very short window of time left for you to back. If you are watching this tomorrow, you won't be able to back either of these first two games. You've got to catch it today or live. And that first one is Tidebreaker. We are a backer on Tidebreaker. I would love to be a higher level backer, but July is a tough month in the plus one household. And so we are just backing at $1 because even backing at $1 does a lot of things for a creator. But let's look at Tidebreaker specifically. Tidebreaker is created by Nick Butler. It is a cinematic role-playing system that's deconstructed a lot of the tropes of action movies and other cinematic scales to create mechanics that let you build a game that does that. Nick's done a tremendous job of helping build up the community around this game and invite people into the working process. It's been an absolutely great thing to watch. We tried to schedule an interview numerous times. We kept on having things that made it not be able to happen. Hopefully we'll be able to get Nick on to play Tidebreaker sometime before fulfillment happens. But if you're looking to create games that are largely built around cinematic tropes, that could be action movies, horror movies, any other types of things that largely require you to not have granular combat, he's done some really interesting mechanical things. Like two of the primary things we're looking at are, not losing hope, spelling out your doom, and a lot of other pieces that make this something where from the very get-go, the mechanics are rooted in the narrative process. I've also just loved watching the art for this game develop. A lot of really great, beautiful, very dynamic and different pieces from each other. Of course, we see a lot of action scenes, but earlier you saw some suspenseful ones also. I think this has been a phenomenal project to watch just kind of blow out of the gate. If you haven't hit it yet, I would highly encourage you to take a look at it. There's a lot of great pieces that are not just about like the violent aspects, but looking at how you build up the set, who are the key figures, NPCs, other pieces like that, and then addressing how relationships grow through different attitudes. There's a lot of really great things in this, and there's again these ability to do these over-the-top things that action movies do really well. The book's going to be absolutely gorgeous. I've loved looking at all the mock-ups that have come out. Great pledge levels. So we've got community member as a $1 pledge, which is where we're at right now, unfortunately. You've also got key figure. So if you're ready to jump in and see kind of the early access edition, some of the other pieces so that you can get a taste at it. I know that Gamer Priest mentioned going back and forth on this a whole lot in the chat. But I think if you're really been going back and forth, hopping in at $10, getting access to the preview work, seeing if it's for you, and then deciding if you want to dive in deeper is a great level to come in at. I really love the idea of having your quick start as a reward available at a certain level to help people kind of tease that out. It's a really smart way to do it. Then we've got, again, some of the kind of standard levels. You've got the digital PDF, the print PDF. You've got the mastermind level, which is if you're looking to kind of have everything you need to run this for your table. And then you've got, of course, the Tidebreaker level up here at the top. And so there were a couple other ones early on. I had been in at Harbinger before I had to downgrade my pledge, but that's not because it's not a great project. It's just because I can't do it right now, which is a reality. So if you haven't had a chance to go check it out yet, please do. Links to all these except for one, which I'll edit later, will be in the description of the video. Also, too, if you're watching on Facebook or watching on YouTube later on, it's got 20 hours left to go. It's in that home stretch. The next one, we've got the DCC Dying Earth collection, which is killing it. So this is a project from Goodman Games. Goodman Games produces Dungeon Crawl Classics. This is set in the Vancian Dying Earth setting. Let's take a look at the video. But we'll do what we always do. Give it a
Dying
minute.
Earth? A fictional future created by author Jack Vance. In the distant twilight of the Earth, the sun sheds its last light. An Earth so ancient that its history has been lost and forgotten. A future where magic has replaced technology. Where wizards memorize spells like the excellent prismatic spray. Where vat things and witches cross paths with wayfarers and magicians. What is DCC Dying Earth? A boxed set for DCC RPG, complete with setting and new magic rules. 4 new classes, character creation, grudge rules, and setting details. 35 new spells.
All right, so it's a long video. It's a 14-minute video. Maybe I'll come back and watch it. We only give videos a minute typically. I'm a big DCC fan. I love a lot of things about DCC, and somebody had a comment the other day that a lot of people never get past 0 level funnels. Like they just play the funnel to see who their starting character would be and never do campaign play. I know a ton of people who do campaign play for it also too. It's also interesting to see the Jack Vance novels become a box set in DCC. So like we refer to, like when you hear people say Vancian magic systems, they're referring to magic systems inspired by the way Jack Vance presents things within the Dying Earth Chronicles, which is things like Dungeons and Dragons uses Vancian magic, right? So spells happen a specific and certain way, and you memorize them or know them or other things like that. They're not ritual, they're not free form. There's a lot of interesting things about that have influenced tabletop role-playing games. So it's very cool to see this project come in. Goodman Games does an absolutely killer job with a lot of this. It's been a huge project. I'm very excited about it. I'm not backing it at any level, not because it's not a good project, but because I don't know when I will play DCC. I don't even own the DCC core books. I do play a lot of DCC, but it's mostly hop in for a few sessions. The world is good, but it's also, there's a lot of problematic stuff in Vance's things. There's certainly a lot of pieces that are just product of the times. There's other pieces that are products of Vance. I love that. I'm really interested to see what the folks over at Goodman Games does with that. I actually think they straddle the line of problematic tropes envisioned as actually being problematic while still being able to use them in gameplay in a really interesting way in a lot of their content. I think they are very sensitive to what's happening in the games community, very aware of where game culture is right now, while simultaneously producing stuff that, if done by anybody else, I would really raise an eyebrow, but I trust Goodman Games a lot to get things right. But it is a great project. Let's look at some of the pledge levels. We've got this huge visual scroll happening here. It's still a lot of text. Like I would have loved a little bit more probably judicious text, but I think there's a lot going in here. They've unlocked a lot in this, so that's at $30,000. So they've already unlocked, and they're about to bump through this one, I think. So they're almost through all their stretch goals. We've got 25. We've got no $1 pledge level, which I would love a $1 or $5 get into the backer kit, I'd be interested in it. But you've got a PDF level. We've got the PDFs plus the module level also too. This is still just PDFs at this point. At $50, you can get in on the print box set and print and PDF. At $110, you get all the modules. So we're looking at a very high dollar value. Now, I will say this, though. The most popular pledge level is their $110 pledge level. So that means the vast majority of people, almost 2,000 people, have backed at that $110 level. And that's really kind of intense. It's really impressive that they were able to make a pitch that made their fourth level up over $100 their primary level. They did have an early bird, which was available for the first 500 backers. That was the same exact stuff as their $110 level, but not. I'm a big fan of Goodman Games. I'm a big fan of Dungeon Crawl Classics. I think this is a really interesting setting. I probably will go back and watch the rest of the video. It's been hugely influential in gameplay, but again, you've got to weigh out how do I feel about supporting kind of Advancian setting and some of the IP and how you feel about all those pieces. But again, I think there's a good conversations to have at your table with your players and with yourself to decide if that's something you want to do. Again, other people doing it, I might question how they're proposing a lot of this, but Goodman does a really good job straddling a lot of that. So this is only got 7 hours left. So if you want to get in on this one, you need to back it before the end of the day. Only 6 hours left at this point in time. Very cool project. Again, wish they had a level to opt in slightly earlier. Another project by a big studio. Then we're going to get into a whole lot more things by small and first time creators that I'm very excited about. Is The Devil Made Us Do It. This is by Monty Cook Games. So it's Save Existence as we know it by bending reality to carry out the perfect heist in this unique zero prep RPG. Let's check it out.
Stealing Stories for the Devil is a fast-paced, heist-focused role-playing game centered on the idea of controlling the narrative. In this game, since characters can lie to reality and thus change it, players can drive the narrative to help them succeed while facing down otherwise insurmountable challenges. As a character in Stealing Stories for the Devil, you hail from the 39th century, where technology allows people to change the fabric of reality. After returning from an exploration mission into weird parallel worlds, something has gone wrong. You and your fellow travelers find yourself in the right dimension, but the wrong time. Now you're trapped in the 21st century. Worse, your machines detect that isolated pockets of reality itself are breaking down, and they're spreading. If you don't act now, all of reality might eventually collapse. I'm gonna play a twist card.
And look at the awareness. So like Gamer Priest is talking about. Gamer Priest, have you backed this one yet? Let me know in the chat. About every time Monty Cook posts a game, their wallet's going to take a hit. The refinement of knowing exactly 1 minute in that they've been able to finish their pitch, and if they want to keep on going in this 2-minute video, they need to do a hard shift. So they've done this hard shift to an actual play, right? With Monty running an actual thing for everybody. It's a really interesting. I just want to cruise through it and see if they've got another shift pop in here. If that's it, they're just giving you a sample of play. It's a really smart way to pace out your video. Do your initial piece and then give another pop of a good moment of play at the table. And so Gamer Priest says, no, actually not yet, because I need to figure out what backer level I'm going to back at. But I will be for sure. I've done all the last ones at the highest levels, quite investment. Yeah, I've backed some Monty Cook games at very high levels. Really, when they launched the Cypher system, that was my main entry point. I think I went in at a couple $100. And I haven't done many since then. They've done some really interesting things. I think for me, one of the holdbacks, and this is like a little bit of indie darling probably feeling, like they've gotten really big, and I love that for them. But lots of times they're unaware of things that smaller people are doing that are very similar, and they will kind of present themselves as doing something the first time that may be established or other things like that. That's a reality of size, and it's frustrating externally. But I also understand that they're actually really trying to do some really cool things with digital tooling and other pieces like that. And I also know that there's no vision for what that looks like. For indie creators who are small and nimble, we're oftentimes able to say, here's what we want to do with the digital tool to incorporate into our game much more seamlessly than a big company is it's cool to see a big company messing around with some of that, because it's a risk for them also too, even if there's sometimes a lack of awareness around that. So like kudos to them for continuing to kind of push out around in some of those spaces too. But I love heist games. I love the concept behind this. I love the time travel piece. I love the initial scroll and the art. And I love the idea that it's designed around fast play. I am starting to think more and more about, like, as we do more actual plays, as we do more streams, and as I notice what works well and doesn't work well on a stream, things like this game actually, I think, would make for a potentially really good, quick stream play. And then how much we do before and do after words. And this game looks like it would be really great for online play, which is why I had that weird diatribe at the beginning. I said all that out of order, probably. They're blowing through some stretch goals, some very, very simple ones, which I think look like really good, easy. You can download the primer, which I have not done yet. So we'll take a look at that. But I love this idea of kind of handing having a GM, but being able to hand the narrative around a little bit more effectively by having this line mechanic where you can push to impose your will on reality and say, no, actually, this is how it happens. I just think that's a really cool concept. They've blended a whole lot of really unique pieces here that I am really kind of stoked to dive into. So Gamer Priest, if you pick this one up, we should do a stream on this, because I think it'd be an absolute blast to be able to do it. But let's look at a couple of the pledge levels. Again, no entry point pledge level, which I'd love to see, but you can get the game in PDF at just $15. You can get it in print at $30. Devil of a Time. Looks like you get the game and all three of the little book modules for it also too, and then at print at $70. Plus, we've got these big old high levels up here that we'll see maybe a couple of y'all pick up. It's very cool. I'm very excited about this game. I have a couple of friends who were like who were not sure if they wanted to get on it, who have gotten on it after looking at the primer. Let's do a quick kind of scroll through that. We're also seeing more like primers built as almost looking like slide presentations, which this one does also. Oh, is my computer going to freeze up? Is just that slide going to freeze up? Let's see. Can we get it to work here? Table of contents. Visually stunning. Great layout. Cool side by side. I want to see if there's any pages that'll be fun to just take a quick look at. Anyways, I could spend a lot of time probably diving into this. I think the look of this is very good. I wouldn't expect anything less from Monty Cook Games. I've never regretted anything that I've backed by them. I think they always do a tremendous job of making sure that the production matches. A lot of times it's just really now asking the question of where are my dollars going to go. And so a lot of times that's two smaller creators, but this one I may hop in on if I can manage it. Again, I wish there was a get in on a pledge manager level, because I would probably come back in a couple months and pop up on this at a higher level. And so, all right, let's keep on going. Seas of Sand. I love this. We pledged for $1. We've got a couple giveaways of this we're going to be able to do coming up also too, if they meet their funding goal. They're about a week into their campaign, a little over, and they are about halfway there, so they're on track, but it's going to be close. I really want to see this number double, because then if it doubles to 400 backers getting the hardback of the book, then it's going to be sewn binding. We'll talk about that in a second. Sea of Sands is an OSR setting toolkit. So it's got a lot of procedures in it for desert play, but also for play around like an age of like sail and sword, which is very cool, because the desert that you're going across has 7 different types of sand that liquefy during the day and harden at night. We did an actual play of this earlier this week. Over the weekend, and I also interviewed the creator last week, Sam. Really loved the conversation, really had great insight around some of the concepts around blending different mechanics together, how you bring narrative pieces into play in an OSR concept. And it's a really great thing, because if you aren't familiar with toolkit play, a lot of times you can take a very big picture concept, like we want to go from here to here to sell all the rum that we have in our hold right now. And then the adventure really is a lot of random table rolling. But in the middle of that, like we encountered like these God's Sanding Block, which is this giant, like hyper fast, bigger than a building block of sand that just rushes across the dunes and creates these giant waves. We encountered a mailbox, which had just tons of bottles around it because part of the mechanics of the world are that, actually, I think there's a picture down here a little bit further down. Some of the mechanics of the world are that if you drop a message in a bottle into the sand, that at some point it will reach its destination. It may take a very long time, but by the magic of the world, it does get there. We had a glass dragon as we got into the deepest part of the sea appear on the hottest day, and we thought we were just going to die because not because of the glass dragon, but because the sand was exploding around us because of the heat and the type of sand we were in. And we were able to have a conversation with the glass dragon and kind of manipulate the fact that it was melting the sand into creating a weird barrier wall for us to keep us safe when we thought we were going to TPK. I thought it was going to be the first non-intentional TPK on stream. And so I just think like it's a very, very cool concept. Also, toolkits let you kind of pull out the pieces you want, leave the pieces you don't. So there's some merchant things in Seas of Sand that if you are like, hey, I really want to figure out a better way to help my players who want to buy and sell things, and that takes up a lot of time and everything, to figure out good ways for them to do that, which is the type of character I am. I love to build weird little commercial empires in the middle of my ongoing campaigns for whatever reason. And so probably because I've been conditioned to do that by a capitalist society, but whatever, like I like to do that kind of stuff. The team behind it is absolutely phenomenal. I got to meet with their cultural consultant, somebody who's doing some of the art and setting pieces, and then the primary designer, Sam, the other day. We all played together with my friend Alex. You can go check that out on stream. But it's a very, very cool concept. And so if you're somebody who's into OSR stuff or into D&D 5th edition or into other kind of trad game things, and you're looking for a really interesting setting with some really unique concepts, cool art and other pieces, I would highly encourage you to check this one out. And again, if it gets funded, we'll have some giveaways in the future for full transparency also too. And so, but I really did just have an absolute blast playing this game. So if you haven't checked out Seas of Sand yet, please go do. I absolutely loved it. So we got Gamer Priest says, I literally just backed Stealing Stories. You pushed me over the edge. I backed at the level that gets me the physical PDF stretch goal. MCG literally gets me every single time. They're good. They know exactly what they're doing, and they do it very well. I also backed Tidebreaker too. I love that. Ben says, this looks fun. Yeah, I had a blast with Seas of Sand. We've got a comment from Wolf Wraith a little while ago saying, I've read some of the novels. This is about Jack Vance, I think, when I was younger. I personally wouldn't want to play in it, but I see the appeal. Yeah, I think that's a great perspective from a lot of people. It's Jack Vance stuff is not for everybody, and it's going to have enough stuff in it that we may be like, I just don't want to touch it. There's other things I would rather do. That style of play, like, I also, like, if I was going to pick up somebody from that era, I'd pick up, like, Bradbury. Also has issues, but mostly issues of the time. And I think you get a lot of that same type of feel from Bradbury in more enjoyable and more flexible spaces that would let me leave what I don't like behind. All right, let's look at a game that I am very excited about. I'm very excited about it for a number of reasons. One, it's a Merkborg compatible system called Vastgrim. I love Merkborg. I love sci-fi. I think the sci-fi feel of lethality that I think that Morkborg's lethality matches a sci-fi vibe better a lot of the time. Because it's pretty justifiable to think if a shotgun blows me in half, I'm dead, versus if I get stabbed by a knife. I think a lot of people think they could survive a stab wound, even though most of us probably wouldn't. And so, for whatever reason, I think it does. That's not a bash on Merkborg. That's a bash on us not understanding how human bodies works most of the time. However, so it's the first one funding on Gamefound, which is a long-standing pledge manager that people have used to help get their games into people's hands, collect data after Kickstarters. Gamefound is in the middle of a beta right now, and this is the first RPG to go up for actual funding on it. I love the interface. I love a lot of what it's doing. I'm going to spare y'all a lot of that, but I may hit a couple of high notes as we scroll down the page that I'll point out. We are going to have Ryan Schoon from Gamefound on in late August to talk about this as they move out of their beta and into public access, specifically for how it might impact the indie community. So we're going to build an interview around that. So if you're interested in Gamefound as a funding platform, we'll talk more about that a little bit right now, but much more on the future. Also tomorrow, I'm interviewing Brian, who's the creator of this game, and we are going to talk specifically about what his experience on Gamefound has been. So if you're into the industry side of things, 2 great conversations to look forward to. So rather than just having a static video at the top, they've got this gallery view, right? But there is a video for this. Let's go ahead and give it that 1 minute of play. And note, they've got their video timed for exactly 1 minute, and the last little bit of this is just credits, right? Great, tight, concise video, drives theme, drives feeling, shows a lot of visuals. One of the coolest things I will say about this, so they're funded well. They've broken $100,000. Congrats, Brian, who's watching right now, for breaking that $100,000 mark. I love a couple things: the visual delineation between original funding goal and where they're at right now. Clear stats at the top, but this right here, how close they are to the next stretch goal, continues to. And some of you may not like this, but this continues to drive. We're still building something as long as stretch goals are in play. That you contributing right now still matters in a way that Kickstarter doesn't, in a way that Indiegogo doesn't. It's a very cool piece to see some of these other elements on here that help this. There's a back at the top thing right here. I have pledged $1, as is common. And my big critique so far of Gamefound would be, and Brian, maybe you and I can talk about this tomorrow. Unless you build a dollar amount, the how to go pledge $1 felt a little complicated from the top, right? Like it didn't seem as seamless as Kickstarter to be able to just pledge $1 or $5 or $10 or other things like that. And so I'm interested in that, but we can talk about that a little bit tomorrow, Brian, from the back end. As we scroll down, here's the other thing I want to point out, and then we're just going to talk about the campaign. Look at this breakdown on the side. If there's a certain section I want to go to, boop, here's more about the game. Boop, here's a reward level. Boop, here's more about the dice. Here's more about the book. It'll just take me right there, right? Like it's phenomenal. Ben Wenham says the leftist in me hates it, the publisher in me loves it, right? So we've got Vastgrim, Merkborg compatible system, and really, like it is Merkborg in space, but that feels like a simplification because it's not like we wrote a space Merkborg adventure. Vastgrim really feels like a very complete original creation for a number of reasons that we're going to get into, right? It's taken the cold hardness of Merkborg and thrown it into the cold, harsh realities of space. Some of the great things about Merkborg, you get up, it's quick to quick to get moving, easy to run, but you're now no longer looking at a world that's going to end. You're looking at a solar system and a universe that are slowly falling apart. The world is gone and fallen apart. Already there's asteroids and ships and other planets, but it's a game about humanity trying to survive in this new cold, harsh environment. The absolutely best thing about this book, beyond building on that system, is all the setting work that they've done to make that feel like a new, fully cohesive thing, is the art. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's a lot of mixed medium between digital, photography. Brian is a sculptor, so there's a lot of sculpting that plays heavily in the visual aesthetic of this book. This creature on the front, I believe, and I know Brian's watching, looks phenomenal. In case you are watching right now on Twitch also too, I'm going to go ahead and drop a link to this one in the chat. I got to pull up chatbot here real quick because I didn't earlier like a dummy. Where's my chatbot? Because I do want to drop a link, and we do have a special link that you can use to get right there. Man, come on, apps. Oh well, that's weird. All right, here we go. Chat. There we go. Oh, they changed. That's weird. They changed the icon. All right, so it's a lot of max reading. Yeah, the worm on the cover is a big sculpture. So this is a mix of a few different types of art here, and like Merkborg is very much about the aesthetic and the visuals, and I think somebody just trying to translate that into we're going to take the system and dump it over here and not do that same type of intensive visual work, I think would be an incredible disservice, and I don't think it would translate well. And again, I think the team for this just absolutely killed it, absolutely killed it by being able to mix all those different things into it. And Brian's keen visual aesthetic, I think, comes to the forefront in the middle of that. So if you want to check it out, please use this link, ttrpg.link /vastgrim with 2 M's GF, and then I'll let them know that we sent you if you use that link. If you're watching on Twitch right now, or if you're watching later or on Facebook, it's in the description. This page here, so one of the other things I love about this game is I get to write an adventure for this project. Brian and the team reached out and asked me if I would be willing to do one. I am very excited to do one, and when I saw this page with this tiger shooting lasers out of its eyes, and the mutations of earth creatures into this new environment, I knew that I wanted to build something around that. So that's just a little taste of what may be coming from me in that area. But it's a good sized book. I'll also say this. I think Brian and the team underpriced the book. It comes with these amazing elder dice. There's the ability to get huge pledges on this level, but I think they dramatically underpriced this book. Merkborg is about a $30 book. Most books that come out that are about that same size are going to run you $35 to $40 by an indie publisher, right? Because they're beautiful hardbacks that a lot of work goes into, that are full color, and they're totally worth that. It's a $20 book on the Kickstarter, and that is just amazingly affordable for what you're getting. So we've got rewards here. The featured one is basically the all-in pledge level, the We're All Doomed. You've got a couple copies of the book, this mat, these copies of the Elder Dice with these different books on them, which is kind of one of Infinite Black's key projects. But there's a digital tribute option. There's the hardcover plus the digital. Again, just at $20, it'll be or $19. It'll normally be $25, which I still think is $5 cheaper than y'all could have easily gotten away with, if not more. Then all these beautiful dice and other things to go with it. I love the loud screaming colors of this as opposed to Merkborg's yellows and reds and blacks. I think it's a great comparison. I love seeing the different maps and pieces that are going to come out. And then we've got these extra adventures that are going to be coming up also too, and some other stretch goals that are going to be revealed. This is a really cool project. I'm just very, very excited about it. I'm also very excited about what Gamefound is doing to support indie designers, and specifically wants to do to support indie RPG creators. So if you haven't been following this project, and if the beauty of this project and the fun of playing the Merkborg system in a completely original setting set in space doesn't like sing to your heartstrings, which I think it should, but then I think you should really consider backing it at any level to help support and show Gamefound how important indie RPGs are to you as a consumer also too. So I also think that the democratization it'll create by giving Kickstarter a real U.S. based, which is not about U.S. superiority, it's just where a lot of the game industry lives, alternative is a big deal. And so again, I'd really highly encourage you to go check out Vastgrim if you have not yet. Again, ttrpg.link /Vastgrim with 2 M's GF will take you right there if you want to check it out. Again, any level you support at, it's always appreciated, but you should absolutely pick this one up at least the physical book level. Grab some of those extra dice while you're there if you want to, though. I think it's going to be an absolutely great thing. And we're going to dive more into what Gamefound is doing next month, and again, come back tomorrow to talk with me and Brian about this game specifically if you have some more questions about it. Last one, we're about halfway through. I'm going to keep on going through. We may have to pick up the pace a little bit, but I am very excited about Dwelling. So Dwelling is to shift to a different place. It is a solo RPG game for Ghost. Seb Pines, who is part of Hard Luck Games, also, that this is a unique creation, is the creator behind this. I am somebody who only backs solo RPGs if they're beautiful and a physical book I can pick up. I don't play a lot of solo RPGs that I do pick up, but I like the concept of if I'm going to journal through something, I want to journal through it. I want the physical book. And so because of that, I think solo RPG designers should put a lot of consideration into what does the physical presence of your book look like, and that's going to be a key part of why I'm super excited about Dwelling. But let's hear the story. There's no video. An old house, your new home, and you aren't the only one restless at night. Dwelling is a narrative-driven horror game for one about a sleepless night spent wandering an old house, encountering the spirits that dwell within. Reaching limbs, fangs, impossible bodies, and tall, leaning, glowering things. The shadows and shapeless shapes look like they're reaching out around and surround me as I stumble back, falling to the floor. Read through the story of our narrator's strange night in their new home and join them in drawing out the ghosts they encounter, summoning your own memories alongside the specters, and leaving those encounters marked by what they brought forth. Get a little pass of the book here. I'm a big fan of GIFs. If you can't do a video, some of these gift roll-throughs are beautiful ways to showcase what you're doing, keep engagement up on the page. It's a role-playing game or short story for one. The visual pop of this game, like the consistently beautiful design, is absolutely amazing. The mechanics are phenomenal, but here was one of the most interesting thing to me. I'm a big fan of safety tools. I'm a big fan of asking the question, like, how do we take the games that we want to play and not necessarily create rails, but create boundaries that keep us all as a team headed in the same direction, telling the type of story that will satisfy all of us. And if somebody wants to tell a different type of story than the rest of the group does, that's okay. But we should find a better place for them to play that, not say that the group needs to compromise what it wants to do. And that doesn't matter whether it's a GM game, a solo game, an RE, whatever. There should be some tools in place to help guide that. Dwelling features a companion safety tool designed to augment the experience of play that prioritizes the engagement and safety of the player, which, like, I've never thought about safety in the context of a solo game, but when you're dealing with the macabre, the supernatural, and with memory, there may be some moments at which you kind of want to shelter yourself or to create some blinders in a good way to keep you from having to necessarily take in everything that you're doing. So the key bookmark, which is this thing right here on the page, provides a tangible check-in for players to keep touch with themselves as they play through the game. The key allows you to lock up Dwelling, saving your place in the game for when you need to take a break from it, as well as working in tandem with the keyhole postcards. The keyhole postcards are alternate prompts written for their use to allow players to encounter rooms with potentially uncomfortable content from a distance, drawing what they see through the window of the keyhole instead of engaging in memory-related writing, engaging a moment of speculation about what could be found in the room, guessing at its inhabitants without ever having to face them. So it's a bookmark with some other postcards. It might seem like a simple thing, but if all of a sudden you're in the middle of a horror scenario and you're like, oh, I bought this game, I'm playing it by myself. Wait, I don't want to do this part of it. Giving the player permission in this really simple way to say, well, here's how you engage with this without feeling like you've lost out on the experience is such a stroke of genius. And a lot of times it's these very simple combinations of things we do that are really kind of one of the showcases of genius. Seb has done a phenomenal job of creating that type of context in a solo game in just a way I've never considered before. And so I want to point that out because, again, the whole book is beautiful. But just this keyhole piece and knowing that there's a mechanical importance to it and knowing that it doubles as a book, Mark, is it's just so smart. It's so sharp. And I was already so ready to get this game and be excited about it. But, like, if I wasn't excited to play it for all the other reasons, I would be excited to play it just to encounter this new safety mechanic and then think about the implications of what that might mean in our game. Because safety kits are toolkits. They're things that we can take out and pull apart and figure out how they make our play experiences better and other settings also. So though this is designed for solo play, with all the listening at the door that you do in dungeons, with when you're exploring through things, even like, and what it reminds me of is like when you would cover yourself with a blanket when you were scared late at night because somehow the blanket is going to protect you from the horrible monster that you imagine is all around you. The keyhole matches that feeling. I just think it's super sharp. So Seb, thank you so much for doing that. But yeah, just look at how gorgeous this game actually is. I'm just constantly blown away with different pieces. I wish I could back at this level and get some of these art prints. But Seb and Will are two people who I absolutely love. They are both phenomenal creators in their own right. Seb is doing this game. Will is editing it. I can't wait to see what this game looks like when I finally get it in my hands. Very, very cool project. So go check out Dwelling. I'm going to want to remind y'all, iToaster dropped this week. iToaster is available right now. If you grew up in the 80s and you remember the specifically beautiful brand of Nightmare Fuel that the Brave Little Toaster movies and books were, and there are movies and there are books, plural, then iToaster is a game you might want to check out. It's got touchstones of Brave Little Toaster, Toy Story, and even a little bit of batteries not included. You play as small appliances in a big dark world, just wanting to take care of your master and protect your home while being constantly worried about being abandoned or moved on from or replaced by some other better appliance. We produced it with Exalted Funeral. They did the print run for it. You can find a link to that down here at the bottom. But if you go to ttrpg.link/toaster, you can check it out. When you buy that, you help do things like support this channel. It was great to partner with Exalted for the printing, but I got to work with Billy Blue and Madeline Ember on the art, so I got to hire and contract both of them, and it helps offset the cost that I had in advance when people buy it through Itch. And then I also, if you buy it through Exalted, because you want that beautiful print book that they do, and it's an A6, it's a tiny little game, then that helps support us also too. So if you haven't had a chance to yet, please go check it out. If you've already bought it through Exalted, then consider not buying it at $120. So if you want me to run the game for you, you can do it. We'll talk about levels in a second. If you bought it Exalted, if you already have it, there's 3 tools down here at the bottom. One's just the character sheet. The other one is actually designed for the GM to help know like what all the players can do at a glance, because I found when I was running games that was really helpful. And the other one's just kind of a scenario planning tool. And so there's a couple digital tools there that even if you bought it somewhere else, they're not included there. They are included here, and they're absolutely free. I do a couple different levels every time I make a game now. The one is the default level, which in this case is $10. I am kind of enthralled by the pay what you want, but only getting rewards over a certain amount model. I don't know how I would do that for a lot of my games, so I'm thinking through that actively as an Itch creator. Community copies, as always. We were top 1 spot in the physical games for Itch, so I popped out some new ones. If you buy a copy of the game, we put up more community copies. If you review the game, we put up more community copies. So anytime you buy it, you can actually help add 2 community copies to the world. Or if you get a community copy and you review it, then you replace the one that you took. It's absolutely great. Also, some review copies if you're a streamer, blogger, or somebody else who wants to take a look at our game. We had some of those up. And then this is a shout out to Insane Ernie's. Like there's this one point where they've got to go to a dump and the TV is trying to sell it to the main the owner character in the thing, and it's this long extensive name. But this is Terrific Tony's Tantalizing Tabletop Toaster Tales. But I'll run a session of iToaster for you and 4 of your friends. Plus, you each get a copy of the game if you buy it for $120. That's my high-level one. And so MXFC says, I'm absolutely not regretting my iToaster purchase. Looking forward to getting it in the mail very soon. Opsum, I'm glad you got it. Again, don't forget these extra tools are here, which I think are incredibly helpful. And they're you can print them out, but they're also digital tools designed for you to just be able to type directly into them also too, because I think that's helpful also too. Also, our flagship game, Beards. I never put it up on Itch. It's going up tomorrow in time for Creator Day on Friday. But let's keep on going. Another Itch game that's in the middle of Itch funding right now is San Silba. It's another solo journaling game. The city never changes. The city never stays the same. Close to the coast in the river delta, San Silba's sprawling districts are connected by random trams and ramshackle ferries. You may have read about San Silba once in a 20-part encyclopedia in a dusty shop around the corner, but you haven't been able to find the bookstore since. A Visit to San Silba is a solo journaling game in which you roleplay a character chronicling their visit to the city of San Silba. It's a city not found on any map. San Silba is both part of and distinct from our world. The city manifests itself differently to every visitor. It's Itch funding, which we've talked a lot about. It's a great way to develop a game that you have a concept for but need help to fund the full version of. We've got some great stretch goals that are set up here, including I love this in Appendix N, which is the inspiration for and references to things that are included in the game, and the ability to buy an Affinity Suite, which is, I think, a great, top. It's a beautifully laid out game. We're big fans of Peter. Jimmy Shelter is a good friend of ours. I really love this. There's also some community copies of the game up. It's a really phenomenal solo journaling game. MV reviewed it, I feel like. Where am I looking for? I'm looking for more here. There was a review by MV that was like it's incredibly finite but incredibly infinite. Both the guidance that it gives you that's very direct, plus the infinite ability to expand the way you're exploring this city is an absolutely gorgeous thing that one of our good friends MV kind of hit on. They're halfway to their print run. I would highly encourage you. They're going up for that $250 goal. If you haven't had a chance to check out Sansoba yet, it's a very, very good solo journaling game, and I would encourage you to check that out. I am super excited to check it out in the future. Again, I'm going to wait for that physical print in order to be able to get it, and so I want to encourage people to go check this game out. This is a game recommended to somebody over on the RPG Zines group, which we stream into whenever we do BackerQuest. Thank you so much to Gothridge Manor for letting us do that. Called Banality. They're surprised it's not doing better. It's a little over a third of the way to its only $501 goal, but let's check out a minute of their very long video that we're not going to get to see all of. I may actually jump forward a little bit after the first little bit. I love what they do here at the very beginning. I don't know that it's the most effective Kickstarter video. Also, the sounds on my speakers, the way it's balanced out, is very, very cool also, but you can't, unless you have speakers like mine, you're not going to get that.
Pair of jackers jumped up and punched drunk on mindless violence. The two jackers passed by anonymous.
I went ahead and skipped forward there a little bit.
For the machine mind
get a little bit of a sense of a play
spot
sample with some of the same distortion effect.
Yeah. Hey, when did you get in here?
I love
working on a campaign for a game that I'm running. We're releasing this new game called Banality. The idea for Banality came about when I was working on a...
Okay, so it's a minute of a very emotional, well, not very emotional, a very evocative video at the very beginning that I don't know actually like helps move selling the game forward. And I try not to be super critical. I think some text over the top of that, some other pieces that gave us a little bit of a sense of flavor would have been really helpful in helping people quickly grasp this game. However, I think a lot of people are just going to keep on going down. I don't think not having that is a big deal. Warp Game has created a couple games before. They've delivered. They are great, but there are a lot of people who are really excited about this one. It's actually a micro RPG they released as a kind of little piece on their last game, but it wasn't codified. The rules weren't finished. This is the finished version of it. So it's very simple, very basic project. It's a role-playing game focused on improvisation and collaborative storytelling. The game is elaborated in many parts called modules. In this Kickstarter campaign, they aim to deliver the first five of these modules. Goodness. Module 1 provides the player with the game's core mechanics. Its premise, and it's 200 years from now, and the future is pretty much like ours now. Technology permeates every facet of their life. And it even comes with invasive alien intelligence called Malice. When the government makes one last-ditch effort to claw power back from Malice, the servant now master, this spirals out of control. In an instant, everyone who isn't already jacked into the neural net is forced online, and those that resist are fair game. So we've got a very much a cyberpunk feel. Everyone is a net runner. This also has some like lit RPG isekai vibes to it that are very interesting. We've got a number of modules here, right? So, and it looks like they're intention was to unlock a number of modules as they go. I think this game could do very, very, very well. I don't know that the premise and the way it's being pitched right now is the most effective way to sell it. This top piece that explains what it is very great story. The visuals on it are amazing and stunning. And I love the idea of small pamphlet-sized games that are unique modules that you can pass around the table and hand to people as you play. I would love to get all of I would love to have just backed all 5. Like, so it's single here, right? So each module will be printed in the format of a trifold brochure, easy to store, display, throw in your bag for the next convention. By purchasing this game, if it's successfully funded, you receive between 1 and 5 modules. The more people who back the project, the more game modules you receive, which is a cool concept, except for I don't know what I'm paying for right now. I don't know if I'm paying for 1 or for 5. One of these modules at $8, I'm willing to invest that. And actually, I'll click back on this because I do want to see the game supported. However, 5 is a no-brainer. If it was 5 of these modules for $8, I'm immediately clicking back. I'm immediately clicking back for the full game. The fact that I don't know what it is actually causing me as a consumer to ask a question of what am I getting, which is not the question you want consumers asking when you're trying to get somebody to back it. Again, all their other games have delivered well, are beautiful. They've actually put this content out in parts before, and now they're trying to codify and expand it, and I love all of that. I just think the value push here is a little bit off, but I do want to encourage people, if this sounds like a cool idea to you, I would love to back. I'm going to back it. I would love for other people to consider backing this, because I would love to get all 5 of these. And I will say this, because I've been more critical than not. Warp Games, if you are watching this later, if you see this later, if you want to come on for an interview and talk about this game, I would love to play this game with you. I would love to talk to you about this game. I would love to talk to you about the concept here. I think the video, like I watched it earlier, most of the way through up until about the 4-minute mark before I needed to come get ready. It's all very smart and very well done. It is a common trap that I fall into of, I think it may be too smart and just needs to be shorter and more clear, but it's very, very, very good. And it's very, very sharp. And I would very much encourage people to go back this game, because I know I'm going to. I need to make sure I hit remind, because even though I oftentimes intend to come back and back, I don't. We've only got a couple minutes left. Hold on. I'm going to click through these. Hyperborea, 3rd edition. I have a couple copies of the 2nd edition. This is a minor update to those. It's been done very well. I'm very excited about it. You should go check it out. Chromatic Dungeons, I want to come back to. Hold on. Gob, I want to come back to. Dreampunk, I want to come back to. Crowns, we're going to have to wait. It's only got 6 days to go. Oh my gosh, so much good stuff. All right, let's do it quick. Chromatic Dungeons. Let's talk about Chromatic Dungeons. I've been very excited about this project. Great short video, a huge emphasis on diversity, and I actually say, knowing a lot of people on this team, it's not just lip service. It's not a white guy like me just saying, hey, I hired some diverse people. It's really great people who are absolutely helping put together a great game. I mean, there are certainly white guys like me involved, but I'm just saying, like, there is a real emphasis on saying, what if we didn't just say, how do we fix the problematic things in some of classic role-playing, or things that bother people or trigger people, but what if we actually built a system that just didn't include those things? And there are a lot of OSR clones out there. They wanted to take some of this 70s and 80s vibes, bring it up. They've moved away from alignment in a couple different ways. They've changed the way ability modifiers and scores work. They've changed the way checks works. They've looked at race and replaced it by ancestry, which is a very common movement. They've looked at heritages, because not everybody even within a certain racial or ancestry archetype might be the same because of different heritage pieces. There's a lot more customization that goes into there, and a lot of simple choices you can make that then create this very dynamic whole. And it's one of the things that I've loved as I've watched the system grow. Pardon me. There's also some really interesting crafting stuff, which I also feel like is oftentimes missing in OSR systems, and they're doing a lot of good work. It's like I said, it's very, very grounded. In this, I've worked with some of the collaborators on this project. If you haven't checked it out yet and you're into OSR pieces, please check it out. It's being fulfilled by Drive-Thru-RPG, which means no matter where you are in the world, it should be fairly easy for you to get a copy of this game also too. So that's Engines, and this is Gob. I think this is going to be one of the last 2 we're going to cover today. I'm trying to go quick here at the end to make sure we have time to cover them in right about an hour.
You've read it, haven't you?
Oh, content warning. There's gross stuff in this video. It said that, but I wanted to make sure I said it because it was small. So it's a system-agnostic horror spellbook and microfiction concept. A finger trails the letters across a dusty tome. A finger points the way down a dark, haunted alleyway. A finger feels for the pulse of life on a long-decayed corpse. A finger scratches the floorboards beneath your feet. A finger chewed down to the white bone. A finger that is not there. A finger catches a shed tear and slides it into a bottle. These are the 7 fingers of the hand of Gob. It's an RPG supplement and anthology of creepy magic and microfiction fit for all game systems and tailored for retro/old school D&D in the style of wonder and wickedness. 49 tales, 100 catastrophes, 20 new monsters, 49 bizarre paraphernalia. One of the things that originally just drew me to this as a concept, I'm not actually somebody who's super into horror stuff, though I do love a lot of the work of people who create phenomenal horror pieces. Charlie, Avery Ferguson is one of those. Charlie did the art for this one, but Rowan, Charlie, and John are all phenomenal contributors. The rest of the team that they've pulled together for this, I think, is absolutely great. I really highly encourage you to check this out if you haven't had a chance to. It's going to be a really beautiful, very, very interesting tome to have on your shelf, because I feel like they've built it in the style of what the world would expect the book to be like. And I love the concept of in-world artifacts that you can kind of pass around at the table also too as a little piece. Good pledge levels. They got the $1 level. We've got an affordable digital level, the hardcover, and a wholesale option, plus a few limited edition high level ones. Definitely worth checking out. And then Dreampunk is the last one we're going to cover today. Let's check the video out for that.
When you sleep, you dream. And there's something greater lurking behind your dreams. Each night, you end up in another world, meet other dreamers, and embark upon marvelous, impossible adventures. But you also face terrors that are far too personal. The problems of your waking life chase you even here, and the dream doesn't want to let you go. Will you be lost to entanglement, stuck forever in the dream? Do you even want to wake up? That is for you to discover in Dreampunk. Dreampunk is a tabletop role-playing game that, instead of dice, uses surreal art cards to power your abilities. This gives players powerful ways to steer the story and exercise their creativity. Dreampunk consists of a 70-page rulebook and a deck of 78 tarot-sized cards. The book contains instructions for play, 9 distinct character playbooks.
All right, so I love Dixit. And this might seem like a weird thing. I love Dixit. It's a board game where you have these really kind of surrealist art cards, and you make statements, and everybody puts one in, and how people pick gives you points, and you move your bunnies around the board. Right? It's an interesting kind of narrative visual game. Dreampunk is like the RPG version of that simple narrative concept that Dixit builds on, but taken to a much more extreme level. Zavid reached out and had asked me to take a look at it. I've gotten a chance to just briefly look through the book. It looks absolutely amazing, and has some really cool pieces into it. So you've got this tarot-sized deck of these really kind of amazing art cards that then drive your different abilities and controls that you can have in the game. It is very reminiscent of like Dream Askew and Dream Apart. It was interesting the other day, somebody actually was able to kind of explain to me the difference between Dream Askew, Dream Apart, and Belonging Outside Belonging, and I definitely think it would fall into the former category more so. But it's very much like it uses the term Dreampunk, and I really actually like that term for it. It's got this really great, consistently esoteric, flexible, not entirely substantive, while still being significant feel to it that I think matches what I would want something that's a Dreampunk game to be like. They've got a hardship PDFs level. They've got just the PDF, just the book, just the deck. Like you can kind of pull things in how you want to. This is one where I would actually consider buying things a little bit more piecemeal. Like I might buy just the deck and not the full game, but I think the full game is totally worth it. There's also kind of the entire suite of things, a great retailer package, and some additional premium levels that you can pull in at too. So again, that's David. I would love to cover Crowns. I don't think we have time to. Go check it out. It looks like a great game. I know some of the people who did the art on it but we don't have time to fully cover it today. It does remind me of Mysterium also too, Wolf Wraith Press. It's been a minute since we've done this. Apparently, I'm a little off on selecting the right amount of things. I wanted to take some time to look at Lux Collective. We may have to do a special stream just to look at Lux Collective stuff. If you want to help support us, one of our big moves on the stream, this channel is to on the channel this month is to move towards sustainability. Over the course of the last 8 months, I've been paying out of pocket for graphic design, editing, and a lot of other things. If you enjoy the ability for us to be able to do these streams, we would want to invite you to become a content champion. Right now, backing or supporting at any level helps a whole lot. At the beginning of next month, we'll be instituting the new levels that Ko-fi has as an option. We'll be doing giveaways. We'll be doing a lot of other stuff. Also, if you want to do this instead of buying iToaster, iToaster will go up as a digital game for people who are backing at $5 a month or higher. Also, if you're a designer, we will have an option there for you to back us at a certain level and get us to review one of your videos once a year based on backing at certain levels. We don't like charging anyone for the work that we do. However, we do want to become sustainable as a channel, and as we get up higher and higher and as we have more demands on our time, it is really helpful for any amount of support that you can get, so please consider that. But if not, if you really want something in exchange for it, right now you can go support iToaster. That would be awesome also too, or go to plus1exp.com. Check out any of our games like Beards and Beyond, any of our bespoke alchemically inspired beard bombs, and yeah, that's it. We will be tomorrow. We will be sitting down with Brian to play that game. Also on Friday at 10 a.m. We are going to be playing Kennels of Carnage, which is live on Kickstarter right now also too. It's a Merkborg supplement about saving the Duke of Galgenbeck's dog. And then we also have coming up next, oh no, I didn't get it up there. Coming up on Saturday, we've got Gun and Slinger, which is a 3-player RPG that I am super excited to play by Nevin, a good friend of ours from over in the Brain Trust. So it's going to be a 3-player game with us, the two of us in Veritia, and I am super stoked to play it. So we will see y'all soon. This has been BackerQuest, and we'll see you next time.
Fedora Noir, a game about a detective and their hat. It's not my first case, but there's something special about this one. It's a game where you tell dramatic stories of a private investigator working a messy case. One person is the detective, and another is their inner monologue, the hat. Maybe it's a simple case of a private eye looking for a stolen item in the big city. Or maybe it's a hired gun looking for a missing android in a neutron dystopia. One thing's for sure, they're going to need a strong drink.
Hi, I'm Caroline, and I'm the lead designer of Fedora Noir. I made this game because I wanted something that would let me tell quick, classic Moore stories full of conflict between the detective and their so-called friends. I love the tension that we create when one player says what the detective does and another tells us what they think. I hope that you enjoy Fedora Noir as much as I do. Thank you so much for your support.